Before we begin, drop a comment below with your country and what time it is right now where you're watching. Whether it's sunrise in Nairobi, midnight in New York, afternoon in Canada, or evening in France, I want to know. Don't just sit back. Tell me where in the world you are. Now, let's dive into the story. I woke up in sheets that weren't mine, in a room that smelled like cedar and expensive cologne, with a man's arm draped across my waist like it belonged there. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought I'd crack a bone. The curtains were half open, letting in harsh Miami sunlight that showed every wrinkle on my brown hands, every gray strand in my hair scattered across the pillow. I was 59 years old, and I'd just done something I swore I'd never do again after my husband died 15 years ago. I'd let a stranger touch me. I'd let myself feel something. And now, lying there with my dress crumpled on the floor next to his jeans, I felt like I'd committed a crime against my own dignity. My daughter, Keisha, would lose her mind if she knew. My grandkids would be mortified. But the worst part, the absolute worst part, was that I didn't regret it. Not one single second. And that terrified me more than anything else in this world. The man beside me stirred, and I froze like a deer in headlights. His name was Dutch. I remembered that much from last night at the hotel bar where my friend Lorraine had dragged me for her birthday celebration. Dutch was white, tall, with silver hair and laugh lines that made him look like he'd lived a full life and enjoyed every minute of it. He'd bought me a drink, then another. We'd talked about everything and nothing, about loss and loneliness and how the world keeps spinning even when you're standing still. He told me about his wife, who passed from cancer 3 years back. I told him about Raymond, my husband, who died of a heart attack while mowing the lawn on a Sunday afternoon. We cried together, laughed together, and then somehow ended up here in his hotel room doing things I hadn't done since bell bottoms were in style the first time around. Now he was waking up, and I had to make a decision. Do I slip out like a thief? Do I pretend this never happened? Do I face him in whatever awkwardness comes with morning after conversations between two people old enough to know better? His eyes opened. They were blue, startlingly blue against his tanned face, and he smiled at me like I was the sunrise itself. "Morning, beautiful," he said, his voice rough with sleep. Beautiful. When was the last time someone called me that? When was the last time I felt anything close to beautiful? I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but what came out was, "I need to go." I sat up fast, grabbing the sheet to cover myself, and that's when I saw it on the nightstand, a small velvet box. My stomach dropped. "Wait," Dutch said, sitting up too, and there was something in his voice that made me pause. "Before you run, just give me 5 minutes, please." I should have left right then. I should have grabbed my dress, my dignity, and gotten out of there. But something in his eyes held me. Something desperate and honest and terrifying. He reached for the velvet box, and my heart started doing that slamming thing again. "I know this is crazy," he said, opening the box to reveal a simple gold band with a small diamond. "I know we just met. I know you probably think I've lost my mind. But Vanessa, I'm 63 years old, and I've learned that life is too short to waste time pretending we don't feel what we feel. Last night, talking to you, being with you, I felt alive again. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like I had a reason to wake up smiling." He paused, and I saw his hand shaking. "Marry me." The room spun. The sunlight got too bright. Somewhere in the distance, I could hear Miami traffic, could smell coffee from the hotel restaurant downstairs, could feel my own pulse pounding in my ears like a drum. This man, this stranger I'd known for less than 12 hours, was proposing to me. And the craziest part, the absolute wildest, most ridiculous part, I was actually considering saying yes, because he was right. Life was too short. I'd spent 15 years being the responsible grandmother, the proper widow, the woman who did everything right and felt nothing at all. And last night, for just a few hours, I'd felt something. I'd felt wanted. I'd felt seen. I'd felt like Vanessa again, not just Grandma or Mrs. Raymond Thompson's widow. I looked at him, at this white man with kind eyes and a crazy proposal, and I said the words that would change everything. Ask me again in a month if you still feel the same way. If I still feel the same way, then we'll talk. He grinned, and it was like watching the sun break through storm clouds. Deal. 1 month felt like both forever and no time at all. I left Dutch's hotel room that morning with his phone number saved in my contacts and a secret burning a hole in my chest. I couldn't tell anyone. Not Lorraine, who would have thrown a party and blasted it all over social media. Not my sister Denise, who would have lectured me about moving too fast and reminded me that Raymond was irreplaceable. And definitely not my daughter Keisha, who was already convinced I was losing my mind because I'd started wearing red lipstick again and had bought new jeans that actually fit. So I kept it to myself, this wild, impossible thing that had happened. I kept Dutch to myself. We talked every single day, sometimes for hours, on the phone like teenagers. He lived in Charleston, owned a construction company he was trying to hand over to his son. I lived in Atlanta, worked part-time at a boutique, and spent most of my time watching my grandkids and pretending I wasn't slowly disappearing into the background of my own life. Dutch told me things about himself that I'm sure he'd never told anyone, about how his wife, Linda, had made him promise not to spend his remaining years alone, about how his daughter barely spoke to him because she thought he'd moved on too quickly after Linda's death, about how he'd been planning to sell everything and travel the world just to feel something other than empty. I told him things too, about how Raymond and I had been high school sweethearts, how we'd built a good life, but somewhere along the way had stopped really seeing each other, about how after he died, I felt guilty for feeling relieved that I didn't have to keep pretending everything was perfect, about how my daughter treated me like I was made of glass, like I couldn't handle real life anymore, like I was just the babysitter and not a whole person with dreams and desires and a future. The calls always ended the same way. He'd say, 29 more days, Vanessa, then 28, then 27, like he was counting down to Christmas or freedom or both. And I'd laugh and tell him he was ridiculous. But inside, I was counting too. Inside, I was terrified and excited and more alive than I'd been in years. I started doing little things for myself. Got my hair done in a new style that made me look younger. Bought dresses that actually showed I had a figure. Started going to the gym with Lorraine, not to lose weight, but to feel strong. Keisha noticed. Mama, what's going on with you? She asked one afternoon while dropping off the kids. You seem different. I wanted to tell her, wanted to say that I'd met someone who made me feel like a woman again, not just a grandmother, but I just smiled and said, just taking care of myself, baby, that's all. Week 3, Dutch surprised me. He showed up in Atlanta unannounced, called me from outside my apartment building at 8 in the evening on a Tuesday. My heart nearly stopped when I saw him standing there by his truck, flowers in hand, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. Couldn't wait another week to see you in person, he said when I came downstairs. So we went to dinner at a little soul food place I loved, and I watched him try collard greens and cornbread for the first time. He ate everything, praised everything, and looked at me like I was the only person in the room. People stared. An older black woman with an older white man wasn't exactly rare in Atlanta, but I still felt their eyes, felt their judgment, felt their curiosity. Dutch noticed too. Does it bother you? He asked quietly. People looking? I thought about lying, but I'd promised myself I'd be honest with this man. Sometimes, but not as much as pretending I don't feel what I feel. He reached across the table and took my hand. Good, because I'm done pretending to. That night, after he drove back to Charleston, I lay in bed and realized something that shook me to my core. I was falling in love with him. Not the cautious, comfortable love I'd had with Raymond. This was different. This was wild and scary and felt like standing at the edge of a cliff with the wind pushing at your back. This was the kind of love that could destroy everything or save everything, and I had no idea which it would be. My phone buzzed, a text from Dutch. 7 more days, and then I'm asking you again. I hope your answer is yes. I stared at those words for a long time. 7 days until I had to make a decision that would change my entire life. 7 days until I had to choose between the safe, predictable future everyone expected from me and the wild, uncertain future I actually wanted. I typed back, 7 days. And then because I was 59 years old and done playing it safe, I hope my answer is yes too. Day 30 arrived on a Saturday morning, warm and bright, the kind of Atlanta day where the air smells like magnolias and possibility. I woke up nervous, my stomach doing flips like I was 16 again, getting ready for prom. Dutch had texted me at dawn. Today's the day. Meet me at Piedmont Park at noon. Bring your courage. I'd spent 2 hours getting ready, changing outfits 4 times before settling on a yellow sundress that made my brown skin glow, and sandals that showed off the pedicure I'd gotten just for this. Lorraine had called twice, sensing something was up, but I let it go to voicemail. This moment was mine. Whatever happened next, I wanted to hold it close before the world got involved. I drove to the park with my hands shaking on the steering wheel, my mind running through 1,000 scenarios. What if I said yes and my family disowned me? What if I said no and spent the rest of my life wondering what could have been? The park was crowded with families, joggers, couples holding hands. I spotted Dutch immediately, standing by the lake where the ducks gathered, looking out at the water like he was gathering his thoughts. He was wearing a blue button-down shirt that matched his eyes and jeans that made him look younger than 63. When he turned and saw me, his whole face lit up, and I felt something inside me shift and settle. This was right. Whatever crazy thing was about to happen, it was right. He walked toward me, and I met him halfway, and when he took my hands in his, I felt the calluses from years of construction work, felt the strength and gentleness all at once. "Vanessa," he said, and his voice was steady, but his eyes were wet. 30 days ago, I asked you to marry me, and you asked me to wait, so I waited. I waited and talked to you every day and fell more in love with you every single conversation. I waited and thought about what life would look like with you in it, and I can't imagine anything better. He got down on one knee, right there in the middle of the park, with people starting to notice and whisper and pull out their phones. I heard someone gasp, heard a kid say, "Mommy, why's that grandpa kneeling?" But all I could see was Dutch looking up at me like I was the answer to every question he'd ever asked. He pulled out the same velvet box from that hotel room, opened it to show me that simple gold band. "I know this is fast. I know people will think we're crazy. I know your family might not understand, but I also know that I've lived enough life to recognize a miracle when it shows up. And you, Vanessa Marie Thompson, are my miracle. Will you marry me? Will you take this leap with me? Will you let me spend whatever time I have left making you happy?" The world went quiet. The ducks stopped quacking, the joggers stopped jogging, even the wind seemed to hold its breath, and I thought about everything I'd be giving up by saying yes, the comfort of familiarity, my family's approval, the safety of being alone. Then I thought about everything I'd be gaining: companionship, passion, a second chance at love, a reason to wake up excited instead of just going through the motions. "Yes," I said, and my voice came out stronger than I expected. "Yes, Dutch, I'll marry you." He stood up so fast he nearly knocked me over, and then he was spinning me around, and people were clapping, and someone was filming, and I was laughing and crying at the same time. He slid the ring on my finger, and it fit perfectly, like it had been made just for me. We kissed right there in front of everyone, and I didn't care who was watching or what they thought. For the first time in 15 years, I was choosing myself. I was choosing joy. I was choosing to live big instead of small. We sat on a bench after, his arm around me, and I knew I had to tell him something. My daughter doesn't know about you, I said quietly. My grandkids don't know. My sister doesn't know. I've kept you a secret because I was scared of what they'd say, how they'd react. And now I have to go home and tell them I'm marrying a man I met a month ago. They're going to lose their minds, Dutch. They're going to think I've gone senile or desperate or both. He turned to look at me, and there was understanding in his eyes. My daughter won't be happy either. She'll say I'm disrespecting Linda's memory, moving too fast, making a fool of myself. But Vanessa, I learned something when Linda died. I learned that other people's opinions don't keep you warm at night. They don't make you laugh. They don't hold your hand when you're scared. You and I, we're old enough to know that time is precious. We don't have years to waste waiting for everyone else to approve of our happiness. So yes, tell your family. I'll tell mine. And then we'll deal with whatever comes next, together. I leaned into him, felt his heartbeat steady against my cheek, and whispered, "When?" He smiled. "When what? When do you want to get married?" I asked. He pulled back to look at me, his eyes searching mine. "How about next weekend? Quick courthouse wedding, just you and me. Then we can have a proper celebration later if people want. But I don't want to wait anymore, Vanessa. I want to start our lives together now." I should have said it was too fast. Should have suggested we at least wait a month or two. But instead I heard myself say, "Next weekend, let's do it." And just like that, I was getting married in 7 days. I drove home from the park with a diamond on my finger and dread in my stomach. Telling Keisha was going to be worse than pulling teeth. My daughter had always been protective of me, even before Raymond died, but after he passed, she'd gone into full guardian mode. She called every day, showed up unannounced to check on me, treated me like I couldn't make a decision without her approval. I knew she loved me, knew she was just trying to help, but sometimes her help felt like suffocation. And now I had to tell her that I was marrying a man she'd never met, a white man I'd known for 30 days, and we were doing it next weekend. I pulled into my apartment complex and sat in the car for a long time, staring at the ring, wondering if I was making the biggest mistake of my life. My phone rang. Keisha, like she had some kind of mother in trouble radar. I answered. "Hey, baby." "Mama, where are you? I've been calling. I was about to come over." "I'm home now. Actually, I need to talk to you about something. Can you come by?" There was a pause. "What's wrong? Are you sick? Did something happen?" "No, nothing's wrong. I need to talk to you in person." Another pause, longer this time. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Those 20 minutes felt like 20 years. I paced my apartment, rehearsing what I'd say, how I'd say it, trying to find the words that would make this sound less insane than it was. But every version sounded crazy. "Keisha, I met a man at a bar, and we had a one-night stand, and now we're getting married." "Nope." "Keisha, you know how I've been feeling lonely? Well, I found someone who makes me happy, and we're moving fast." Still nope. "Keisha, I'm in love and I'm getting married next weekend, and you can either be happy for me or not, but I'm doing this either way." That one felt more honest, but also like a declaration of war. When she knocked, I nearly jumped out of my skin. I opened the door, and there she was, my beautiful daughter, all concern and worry etched into her face. She was 42 but looked younger, with my same brown skin and her father's serious eyes. She had her purse clutched tight like she was ready to handle an emergency. "Mama, what's going on? You're scaring me." I let her in, closed the door, and just ripped the Band-Aid off. "I'm getting married." Silence, complete, absolute silence. Keisha stared at me like I'd just announced I was joining the circus. And then, "You're, what?" "Getting married next weekend to a man I met last month." She blinked once, twice. Then she laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Okay, Mama, very funny. Now what did you really want to talk about?" I held up my hand, showed her the ring. Her laughter died, the color drained from her face. "Oh my God, you're serious?" "I'm serious. Mama, are you okay? Have you been feeling confused, forgetful?" Maybe we should go see Dr. Patterson, get you checked out. Keisha, I'm not sick. I'm not confused. I'm in love. She sank onto my couch like her legs had given out. In love with who? Where did you even meet someone? You never go anywhere except work and here in my house. I met him at Lorraine's birthday party at the hotel bar. His name is Dutch. He's 63. He's from Charleston, and he makes me happier than I've been in 15 years. Keisha's face went through about 10 different emotions in 5 seconds. Shock, confusion, anger, hurt. You had a one-night stand? You? Mama, that's not like you. Maybe it's exactly like me and you just don't know me as well as you think you do. That came out sharper than I meant it, but I was tired. Tired of being treated like I was fragile. Tired of being managed. Keisha stood up, started pacing. Okay, let me get this straight. You met this man, Dutch, 1 month ago. You slept with him that night, and now you're marrying him next weekend. Mama, do you hear how this sounds? This is insane. You don't even know him. He could be anyone. He could be after your money. What money, Keisha? The Social Security and the part-time boutique job? Come on. Okay, fine, maybe not money. But you don't know his history. He could be a con artist. He could be dangerous. Mama, is he black? And there it was. The question I'd been waiting for. I looked my daughter in the eye and said, no, he's white. Keisha's mouth opened and closed like a fish. White? You're marrying a white man? Daddy would... Don't, I said, my voice hard. Don't you dare tell me what your daddy would think. Your daddy's going... And yes, I loved him, and yes, I mourned him. But it's been 15 years, Keisha. 15 years of me putting my life on hold, being the good widow, the good grandmother, doing everything right. And I'm tired. I'm tired of being alone. I'm tired of waiting for permission to be happy. Dutch makes me happy. He treats me like I matter. He sees me, really sees me, not just as your mother or the kids' grandma, but as Vanessa. And I'm marrying him. Keisha's eyes filled with tears. What about us? What about me and the kids? You're just going to move to Charleston and leave us? I don't know what we're doing yet. We haven't figured out all the details. But yes, I might move, or he might move here. We'll work it out. In 7 days? You're going to work out your entire future in 7 days? Keisha, I'm 59 years old. How much future do I have? How much time do I have to waste being careful and sensible and doing what everyone else thinks I should do? My voice cracked. Baby, I need you to understand. This isn't about leaving you. This is about me finally living for myself. She stood there crying, and I wanted to take it all back, wanted to comfort her, wanted to be the mother she needed, but I also needed to be the woman I was finally becoming. I can't support this, Mama, she said quietly. I can't watch you make this mistake. Then don't watch, I said, and my heart broke as I said it, but I'm doing it anyway. Keisha left my apartment that night without saying goodbye, and the silence she left behind was deafening. I sat on my couch with my phone in my hand, staring at the ring on my finger, wondering if I'd just destroyed my relationship with my daughter for a man I'd known 30 days. The doubt crept in fast in me, whispering all the things Keisha had said, all the logical reasons why this was a terrible idea. What if Dutch wasn't who he said he was? What if this was just some wild fantasy that would crash and burn once real life set in? What if I was being a fool? But then my phone buzzed with a text from Dutch. How'd it go? I called him instead of texting back. He answered on the first ring. Vanessa, you okay? And just hearing his voice steady me, I told him everything. Keisha's reaction, her accusations, her tears, the way she'd left angry and hurt. He listened without interrupting, and when I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, my daughter reacted the same way. Called me selfish, said I was disrespecting her mother's memory, asked if I lost my damn mind, then she hung up on me. We both laughed, but it was the kind of laughter that comes from pain. Are we crazy? I asked. Probably, he said, but I'd rather be crazy with you than sensible and alone. And the next few days were the hardest of my life. Keisha stopped answering my calls. My grandkids, who usually FaceTimed me every night, suddenly weren't available. My sister Denise called, having heard the news from Keisha, and spent an hour telling me I was having a midlife crisis at the wrong time in my life. "You're almost 60, Vanessa. You should be settling down, not acting like a teenager." "Denise, I've been settled for 40 years. Maybe it's time I did something unsettled." She sighed like I was hopeless. "Fine, ruin your life, but don't come crying to me when this white man breaks your heart." Only Lorraine was happy for me. She showed up at my apartment with champagne and hugs, screaming about how romantic it was, how brave I was, how she wanted to be me when she grew up. "Girl, you gave that man some good and now he want to marry you? That's power. That's magic. That's what happens when you stop playing it safe." I laughed until I cried, grateful for at least one person in my corner. But even Lorraine's support couldn't fill the hole Keisha's silence left. I missed my daughter, missed my grandkids, missed the life I was leaving behind even as I reached for the new one ahead. Dutch and I talked for hours every night that week, making plans, sharing fears, learning each other in ways you usually have years to do. He told me about his son Marcus, who was taking over the construction business and was cautiously supportive of the marriage. He said, "As long as you make me happy, he's good. But he wants to meet you soon. Make sure you're not a gold digger." I laughed. "Tell him I'm more of a silver digger at this point." Dutch told me about his late wife, Linda, about their 40 years together, about how she told him before she died that she wanted him to find love again. She said, Don't you dare spend your last years alone feeling sorry for yourself. Find someone who makes you laugh. Find someone who reminds you you're alive." And then I found you. I told him more about Raymond, about how our marriage had been good but not great, comfortable but not passionate. I think we loved each other out of habit more than choice toward the end. And when he died, I felt guilty because part of me felt free, like I could finally breathe. I've never told anyone that. "You can tell me anything," Dutch said. "That's what marriage is supposed to be. Truth, even when it's ugly." Friday came, the day before our wedding, and I'd taken the day off work, was packing a small bag for the trip to the Charleston courthouse when someone knocked on my door. I opened it expecting Lorraine, but it was Keisha. She looked terrible. Eyes red, face puffy from crying, shoulders hunched like she was carrying the weight of the world. "Mama," she said, and her voice broke. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside, let her in, closed the door. We stood there in my living room, two women who loved each other but couldn't seem to speak the same language anymore. "I've been thinking all week," Keisha said finally, "about you, about Daddy, about what you said, and you're right. I've been treating you like you can't take care of yourself, like you need me to manage your life. I've been so scared of losing you that I forgot you're still living." She wiped her eyes. "I'm still not sure about this, Mama. I'm still scared this Dutch guy's gonna hurt you, but I don't want to lose you over it. I don't want you to get married tomorrow without me there." My throat tightened. "You want to come?" "I want to come. I want to meet him. And if he's really what you say he is, if he really makes you happy, then I'll try to be happy for you." I crossed the room and hugged my daughter tight, both of us crying. "Thank you, baby, thank you." That night, Keisha drove with me to Charleston. The whole ride, she peppered me with questions about Dutch. Where he lived, what he did, how he treated me, what his family was like. I answered everything, watching her slowly relax, slowly accept that maybe, just maybe, her mother knew what she was doing. We got to Charleston late, checked into a hotel near Dutch's place. I texted him that we'd arrived, that Keisha was with me, that she wanted to meet him before the wedding. He responded immediately. "Tomorrow morning, breakfast, I'll bring Marcus. Let's do this right." I fell asleep that night with Keisha in the bed next to me, just like when she was little and would crawl into my bed after a nightmare. Except this time, I was the one having the nightmare about the future, and she was the one comforting me. "Mama," She whispered in the dark. I hope he deserves you. Me too, baby, I whispered back. Me too. And then I closed my eyes and prayed that tomorrow would be the beginning of something beautiful instead of the biggest mistake of my life. Either way, in less than 24 hours, I would be married at 59 years old to a man I'd known for 30 days, and there was no turning back now. Breakfast was at a small diner on King Street, the kind of place with checkered floors and waitresses who called you honey and knew everyone's order by heart. I walked in with Keisha at 8 a.m, my stomach in knots, my palms sweating despite the air conditioning. Dutch was already there, sitting in a corner booth with a younger man who had to be his son Marcus. They both stood when they saw us, and I watched Keisha taking Dutch for the first time. Tall, silver-haired, blue-eyed, genuinely smiling like he'd been waiting his whole life for this moment. Vanessa, he said, crossing to me and taking my hands. He kissed my cheek, proper and respectful, and I saw Keisha watching every move. This is my daughter, Keisha, I said. Dutch extended his hand. It's an honor to meet you. Your mother talks about you constantly. You and the kids are her whole world. Keisha shook his hand, studying him like she was trying to see through to his soul. Nice to meet you too. I wish we'd met sooner. It wasn't hostile, but it wasn't warm either. Dutch just nodded. I understand. If I were in your position, I'd feel the same way. Come sit, meet my son Marcus. We all slid into the booth, and for a few minutes it was awkward as hell. Marcus was in his late 30s, built like his father, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. He worked construction with Dutch, was married with 2 kids, and seemed genuinely curious about me. So, you're the woman who's got my old man acting like a teenager, he said with a grin. He's been walking around the job site, smiling at his phone, taking breaks to text. Haven't seen him this happy since before Mom died. Keisha relaxed a fraction at that. We ordered food. I got grits and eggs. Keisha got pancakes. Dutch got an omelet that could feed 3 people. And then, slowly we started talking. Really talking. Dutch told stories about his construction business, about projects gone wrong and right, about the time he nearly fell off a roof, and Marcus had to talk him down. Marcus talked about his kids, showed us pictures, made jokes about how his father was getting married before he could plan a proper anniversary for his own wife. You're setting a bad example, Dad. Now Sarah's going to want to renew our vows or something expensive. We all laughed, and the tension started to ease. Keisha asked Dutch direct questions, the kind designed to test him. What happens if my mother gets sick? Are you going to take care of her? Or is this just about companionship? Dutch didn't flinch. If your mother gets sick, I'll be there for everything. Doctor's appointments, medication, late nights when she's scared, all of it. That's what in sickness and in health means, and I don't take those words lightly. What about money? How are you handling finances? We're keeping our finances separate for now. I've got my business and my savings. She's got hers. Down the road, if we want to combine things, we will. But I'm not asking her for anything, and I'm not trying to control what's hers. Where are you going to live? We're still figuring that out. I've got a house here. She's got her place in Atlanta. We're thinking maybe we split time between both cities, or maybe we find something new together. We're not rushing that decision. Keisha sat back, processing. I could see her defenses coming down, could see her realizing that Dutch had actually thought this through, that he wasn't just some impulsive old man chasing a fantasy. Why my mother? She asked finally. Why her specifically? Dutch looked at me and his eyes got soft. Because she's real, because she doesn't pretend to be something she's not, because when I talk to her, I feel like I can breathe, because she's been through loss and pain and still has the courage to love again, because she makes me want to be better, because I'm 63 years old and I know the difference between settling and finding something extraordinary. Your mother is extraordinary." The table went quiet. I saw Keisha's eyes fill up, saw her blink fast to keep from crying. The waitress came by to refill our coffees, breaking the moment. After she left, Keisha reached across the table and put her hand over mine. "Okay," she said quietly. "Okay. I see it. I see why you love him." I squeezed her hand. "Thank you, baby." Marcus cleared his throat. "So, about this wedding, you're really doing it today? At the courthouse? No big ceremony, no party?" Dutch nodded. "That's the plan. Quick and legal. We can always have a celebration later if people want, but we don't want to wait." "Well," Marcus said, glancing at Keisha, "if it's all right with you ladies, I'd like to be there. Stand with my dad. Make sure he doesn't trip over his vows." Keisha looked at me. I looked at her. And then she smiled, really smiled, for the first time since I told her about Dutch. "I'll be there too. Stand with my mother, make sure she doesn't change her mind." We all laughed, and just like that, it was settled. Our kids would be our witnesses. Our family, however newly formed, would be there. After breakfast, Dutch walked me to my car while Keisha and Marcus hung back, talking about something that made them both laugh. "She's protective," Dutch said. "That's good. That means she loves you." "She does. Too much sometimes." I leaned against my car, looked up at him. "Are we really doing this? In 3 hours, we're going to be married." He cut my face in his hands, his thumbs brushing my cheeks. "In 3 hours, I get to call you my wife. I get to wake up every morning knowing I chose you and you chose me. That sounds pretty damn perfect to me." "What if it doesn't work?" I asked, the fear finally coming out. "What if we get married and realize we made a mistake?" "Then we deal with it like adults. We talk, we work through it, we figure it out." "But Vanessa, I don't think we're making a mistake. I think we're making a life. And that's worth taking the risk." I kissed him there in the parking lot, with the morning sun warm on our faces and our kids watching from a distance. I kissed him like it was a promise, like it was a leap of faith, like it was the beginning of everything. "Let's go get married," I said. And he grinned and said, "Let's do it." The Charleston County Courthouse was nothing like I'd imagined. No fancy decorations, no flowers, no music. Just a small room with fluorescent lights, beige walls, and a clerk who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. But none of that mattered, because Dutch was standing next to me in a navy suit that made his eyes look impossibly blue. And I was wearing a cream-colored dress that Keisha had helped me pick out that morning, and our kids were behind us, and we were about to promise our lives to each other. The judge was a short black woman with glasses and a kind smile. She'd done this 1,000 times, but she spoke to us like we were the only couple in the world. "Marriage is not a contract of convenience," she began. "It's a promise made in hope, tested by time and strengthened by choice. You two have chosen each other, knowing that life is unpredictable, that challenges will come, that love requires work, and you've chosen to do it anyway. That takes courage." She looked at Dutch. "Do you, Dutch William Hartman, take Vanessa Marie Thompson to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hope from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do you part?" Dutch's voice was strong and clear. "I do. And I promise you more than that. I promise to see you every day, really see you, not just look past you. I promise to listen when you talk, even when you're saying things I don't want to hear. I promise to make you laugh when you're sad and hold you when you're scared. I promise to respect your independence, to never try to change you, to love you exactly as you are. I promise that whatever time we have together, I'll make it count. You are my second chance, Vanessa, and I won't waste it." I was crying before he finished. The judge handed me a tissue, gave me a moment to compose myself, then turned to me. "Do you, Vanessa Marie Thompson, take Dutch William Hartman to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do you part?" I looked at Dutch, at this man who'd shown up in my life like a miracle, and I said words I'd written that morning in the hotel room. I do. And I promise you that I won't be easy. I've got opinions and history and habits and a whole life that came before you. But I also promise that I'll choose you every single day. I'll choose us over comfortable and safe. I'll choose adventure over routine. I'll choose love over fear. You make me feel alive, Dutch. You make me remember who I was before I became everyone else's everything. And I promise to be that woman for you fully and completely for as long as we both live. The judge smiled wide. By the power vested in me by the state of South Carolina, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Dutch pulled me close and kissed me like we were the only two people in the room. And I heard Keisha sniffle behind me, heard Marcus whistle, and felt something inside me shift and settle. I was married at 59 years old to a man I'd met 30 days ago, and it felt right. It felt like coming home to a place I'd never been before. We signed the papers, made it official, and walked out of that courthouse as Mr. and Mrs. Hartman. The sunlight hit us as we stepped outside, and Dutch lifted me up and spun me around right there on the courthouse steps, both of us laughing like kids. Keisha took pictures on her phone, capturing the moment, preserving the joy. Mrs. Hartman, Dutch said, setting me down but keeping his arms around me. How does that sound? Strange, wonderful, terrifying, perfect. That's marriage in a nutshell, Marcus said, clapping his father on the back. Congratulations, you two. Let's go celebrate. I know a place that makes the best she crab soup you've ever had, and I'm buying. We went to lunch at a restaurant overlooking the harbor, the five of us. Me, Dutch, Keisha, Marcus, and Marcus's wife, Sarah, who'd met us there after the ceremony. Sarah was sweet and warm, immediately making Keisha feel welcome, talking about kids and life and the craziness of marrying into this family. Fair warning, Sarah told me with a grin. Dutch doesn't cook, like, at all. He can barely make toast without burning it. So either you cook or you both starve, or you learn to love takeout. I cook, I said. Good Southern food, collard greens, cornbread, fried chicken, I'll teach him. Good luck with that, Marcus laughed. He's been eating the same 5 meals for 40 years. Dutch squeezed my hand under the table. Maybe it's time I learned something new. We ate and drank and told stories, Keisha and Marcus bonding over the shared experience of having parents who'd lost their minds. Sarah giving me tips on handling the Hartman family quirks. Dutch looking at me every few minutes like he couldn't believe I was real. At one point, Keisha pulled me aside. Mom, I'm sorry for how I reacted. Seeing you two together, seeing how he looks at you, I get it now. You deserve this. I hugged her tight. I know you were just trying to protect me, baby, but I'm okay. Better than okay. After lunch, Marcus and Sarah took Keisha back to the hotel to grab her things. She decided to stay in Charleston for the weekend, get to know Dutch better, make sure I was settled. That left Dutch and me alone for the first time as husband and wife. He drove us to his house, a beautiful craftsman-style place with a big porch and a yard full of oak trees. Welcome home, Mrs. Hartman, he said, carrying me over the threshold like we were in some old movie. I laughed. You're going to hurt your back, old man. Worth it, he said, setting me down gently in the foyer. The house was exactly what I'd expected. Clean, simple, masculine, with pictures of Linda and the kids on the walls. Evidence of a life well lived. Dutch saw me looking at Linda's pictures. I can take those down if... Don't, I said quickly. She was part of your life. I'm not trying to erase her. I'm just trying to add to what you already have. He kissed my forehead. Thank you. We spent the afternoon exploring the house, Dutch showing me every room, telling me stories about the place, making plans for where my things would go, how we'd blend our lives together, and later, when the sun started to set, we sat on the porch swing, my head on his shoulder, watching the sky turn orange and pink, and I thought about how strange and beautiful life was, how you could spend 59 years being one person and then, in one moment, become someone completely different. How love didn't have an age limit or a timeline. How sometimes the bravest thing you could do was say yes when everything told you to say no. "What are you thinking about?" Dutch asked. "How lucky I am," I said. "How scared I am, how happy I am, all at once." He kissed the top of my head. "That's love, Vanessa. All of it, all at once." And I closed my eyes and let myself feel it. All the fear, all the joy, all the possibility. I was married. And the adventure was just beginning. The first week of marriage was harder than I expected. Not because Dutch and I didn't love each other, but because blending two complete lives at our age was like trying to merge two rivers flowing in different directions. I'd gone back to Atlanta after the weekend to pack up my apartment, give notice at work, and say proper goodbyes. Dutch had stayed in Charleston to handle his business and prepare the house for my arrival. We talked every night, but the distance made me anxious, made me wonder if I'd made a mistake, if this whole thing would fall apart once the honeymoon feeling wore off. Keisha helped me pack, her mood lighter than it had been in weeks. "I like him, Mama," she admitted one afternoon while we were boxing up my kitchen. "I wasn't sure I would, but I do. He treats you like you matter, like you're not just an accessory to his life. Daddy loved you, but he never looked at you the way Dutch does, like you're magic." Her words healed something I didn't know was broken. "Thank you for saying that, baby. I just want you to be happy. And if he makes you happy, then I'm good." But not everyone was as supportive. My sister Denise came by the day before I was set to move, bringing judgment wrapped in concern. "You're really doing this? Leaving Atlanta? Leaving your family? For some man you barely know?" She stood in my nearly empty living room, arms crossed, looking at me like I lost my mind. "Denise, I'm not leaving forever. Charleston is 4 hours away. I can visit. You can visit. It's not like I'm moving to another planet." "It might as well be. You've lived here your whole life, Vanessa. All your friends are here. Your church is here. Your grandkids are here. What happens when you need us and we're 4 hours away? What happens when I need someone and I'm alone in this apartment, Denise? What happens when I die by myself because I was too scared to take a chance on love?" That shut her up for a minute. Then she sighed. "I just don't want you to get hurt, and I don't want you to lose yourself trying to be what he needs." "I'm not losing myself. I'm finding myself. There's a difference." She left without saying goodbye, and I wondered how many more relationships this marriage would cost me. Moving day came fast. Dutch drove up with Marcus in a truck, and they loaded everything I was keeping: my clothes, my grandmother's china, my books, my pictures, the pieces of my life that mattered. Everything else I donated or gave away, shedding the weight of decades. Lorraine showed up to say goodbye, bringing champagne in plastic cups and crying happy tears. "You better call me every week," she said, hugging me tight. "And you better invite me to Charleston. I want to see this love nest you've got going." "You're welcome anytime," Dutch said, shaking her hand. "Any friend of Vanessa's is family." Lorraine looked at me with tears streaming down her face. "You did it, girl. You really did it. You chose yourself. I'm so proud of you." I cried then, really cried, because leaving was harder than I thought it would be. This apartment, this city, had been my home for 40 years. Every corner held a memory. But Dutch took my hand and said quietly, "We can come back whenever you want. This isn't goodbye. It's just see you later." And somehow that made it okay. The drive to Charleston felt like crossing into a new world. Dutch drove, I sat beside him, and we talked about everything and nothing. What we'd have for dinner, what color we should paint the guest room, whether we should get a dog. Normal, married couple conversations that felt both strange and comfortable. When we pulled up to the house, I felt a flutter of nerves. This was it. This was home now. Dutch carried me over the threshold again, making me laugh. And then Marcus and Sarah showed up to help us unpack. We worked all afternoon, finding places for my things, making the house feel like ours instead of just his. My grandmother's china went in the dining room cabinet next to Linda's good dishes. My books filled the empty shelves in the den. My clothes took over half the closet in the master bedroom, and slowly the house started to feel like home. That night, after everyone left and it was just Dutch and me, we sat in the kitchen eating takeout Chinese food straight from the containers, and he asked, how do you feel? Scared, happy, overwhelmed, like I jumped off a cliff and I'm still not sure if there's a net at the bottom. He reached across the table and took my hand. I'm the net, Vanessa. And you're mine. We'll catch each other. The next few weeks were an adjustment. Dutch went to work every day, leaving early and coming home late, exhausted but happy. I tried to settle into Charleston life, explored the city, found a new church, connected with a community center that needed volunteers. But I was lonely. I missed Keisha, missed my grandkids' daily FaceTime calls, which had become weekly because they were busy with school and life, missed the familiarity of Atlanta, missed being around people who knew me, really knew me, not just as Dutch's new wife. One night, about 3 weeks in, I broke down. Dutch came home to find me crying in the bedroom, surrounded by boxes I still hadn't unpacked because part of me didn't want to commit. Didn't want to admit this was permanent. Vanessa, what's wrong? He sat beside me on the bed, pulled me into his arms. I don't know if I can do this, I said through tears. I love you, Dutch, I do, but I don't know who I am here. In Atlanta, I was Vanessa. I had a life, a routine, people who needed me. Here, I'm just your wife, and that's not enough. He was quiet for a long time, just holding me, letting me cry. Then he said, you're right, and I'm sorry I've been so focused on work, making sure the business runs smoothly, that I haven't been making sure you're okay. That's not fair to you. So here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow, we're going to sit down and figure out what you need. Do you need to go back to Atlanta more often? Do you need to find work here? Do you need us to spend weekends in Atlanta? Whatever it is, we'll make it happen, because you're not just my wife, Vanessa. You're you, and I married all of you, not just the parts that fit neatly into my life. The next day, we made a plan. I'd go back to Atlanta every other weekend, stay with Keisha, see my grandkids, maintain those connections. Dutch would come with me when he could, or I'd go alone when he couldn't. We'd host Sunday dinners at the house in Charleston, invite Marcus and Sarah and their kids, build community here. I'd look for part-time work or volunteer opportunities that made me feel useful. And most importantly, Dutch would make more time for us. Date nights, weekend trips, mornings where we just sat and talked over coffee before the day pulled us in different directions. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. And slowly, very slowly, I started to feel like I could breathe again. Like maybe I could be both Vanessa and Mrs. Hartman. Like maybe I could build a life here without losing everything I'd left behind. One evening, about a month after I moved in, I was making dinner when Dutch came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist and said, thank you. For what? For not giving up, for fighting for us, for being brave enough to say when something's wrong instead of just suffering in silence. A lot of people would have just left. I turned in his arms, looked up at him. I don't want to leave. I just want to make sure I don't lose myself in the process of being married to you. Then we'll make sure that doesn't happen, he said, together. And I believed him. For the first time since I'd moved to Charleston, I actually believed we could make this work. 3 months into our marriage, everything came crashing down. It started with a phone call from Marcus. Dutch was at work and I was home organized in the garage when my phone rang. Vanessa, it's Marcus. I need to talk to you about Dad. My stomach dropped. Is he okay? Did something happen? He's fine physically, but look, there's something you should know, something he should have told you before you got married. I sat down on an overturned crate, my heart pounding. What is it? Marcus took a deep breath. Dad's company's in trouble. Has been for about a year. He's been taking on debt to keep it afloat, trying to protect his employees, but it's bad. Really bad. And I think he's been hiding it from you. because he didn't want you to worry or think he married you for financial security. But Vanessa, we might lose everything, the business, the house, all of it. And I thought you should know before things get worse. I sat there in the garage, surrounded by boxes and tools, and the life I'd built with Dutch, and felt like the ground had opened up beneath me. He'd lied, by omission maybe, but still lied. All those conversations about being honest, about truth even when it's ugly, and he'd kept this massive secret from me. When Dutch came home that night, I was waiting. I'd made dinner, set the table, poured wine, and prepared myself for a confrontation I didn't want to have. He walked in smiling, kissed me hello, started talking about his day. I let him settle into his chair, start eating, relax. And then I said, Marcus called me today. Dutch's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. The color drained from his face. He told me about the business, about the debt, about the fact that you're about to lose everything and didn't think I should know. Dutch put his fork down slowly. Vanessa, don't, I said, my voice shaking. Don't you dare try to explain it away. You made me promise to be honest with you. You said marriage was about truth, even when it's ugly. And you've been lying to me for 3 months, maybe longer. You lied about why you wanted to get married so fast. You needed someone to help carry this burden, didn't you? You needed... Stop, Dutch said, and his voice was sharp, hurt. That's not true. That's not why I married you. I married you because I love you. The business problems started before I met you, and yes, I should have told you, but I didn't keep it from you because I wanted your money or your help. I kept it from you because I was ashamed. Because I've spent my whole life being the provider, being the strong one, and admitting that I failed felt impossible. You didn't fail, Dutch. Businesses struggle. That's life. But lying to me, keeping me in the dark about something this huge, that's failing. That's exactly what you promised you wouldn't do. I stood up from the table, too angry and hurt to sit still. What else haven't you told me? What other secrets are you keeping? Nothing, I swear to God, Vanessa, nothing else. Just this. How am I supposed to believe you? How am I supposed to trust anything you say now? Dutch stood too, came around the table toward me, but I stepped back. Don't. I need space. I need to think. Vanessa, please, let me explain. Let me tell you everything I wanted to. I was going to. I was trying to fix it first. I didn't want you to see me as a failure. I don't see you as a failure for losing money, Dutch. I see you as a liar for hiding it from me. The words hit him like a physical blow. I saw him flinch, saw his eyes fill with tears. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. You're right. I should have told you. I should have trusted you with this. I was wrong. But sorry wasn't enough. Not right then. I grabbed my keys and my purse. I need to go. I need to be alone. Where are you going? Atlanta. I'm going to see Keisha. I'll be back. I don't know when I'll be back. I left him standing in the kitchen, got in my car and drove. The drive to Atlanta was a blur of tears and anger and fear. I'd left everything to marry this man. I defended him to my family, restructured my whole life, trusted him with my heart. And he'd kept this massive secret, this thing that affected both of us, because he was too proud or too scared to be honest. When I got to Keisha's house at midnight, she took one look at my face and pulled me inside. I told her everything, the debt, the lies, Marcus's phone call, the fight. She listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she said, "What do you want to do?" I don't know. I love him, but I don't know if I can trust him anymore. And without trust, what do we have? Keisha poured us both wine. Mama, I'm going to be real with you. When you first told me about Dutch, I thought you were crazy. But then I met him, saw how he treated you, and I changed my mind. He's not perfect. He made a mistake, a big one. But the question isn't whether he's perfect. The question is whether he's worth fighting for. Whether you love him enough to work through this, or whether this lie is too big to get past. I sat there in Keisha's kitchen, drinking wine at 1 a.m, and realized I didn't know the answer. I didn't know if I could forgive this, didn't know if I could rebuild trust that had been shattered so completely. I stayed in Atlanta for 3 days. Dutch called and texted constantly, but I didn't answer. I needed time to think, to process, to figure out what I wanted. On the third day, Keisha sat me down and said, Mama, you can stay here as long as you need. You know that. But running away doesn't solve anything. Eventually, you have to decide. You going to work on this marriage or walk away? She was right. I couldn't hide forever. So I called Dutch. I'm coming home, I said. But we need to talk. Really talk. About everything. No more secrets, no more hiding. If we're going to make this work, I need complete honesty from here on out. Can you do that? Yeah. Yes, he said immediately. Anything, everything. I'll tell you anything you want to know. Okay, I said. I'll be there tomorrow. I hung up and looked at Keisha. I don't know if this is the right decision, but I have to try. I owe us that much. She hugged me, then go try. And if it doesn't work out, you always have a home here, always. The drive back to Charleston felt longer than the drive away. I was scared of being hurt again, scared of making the wrong choice. But I was also determined to fight for my marriage, determined to see if love was strong enough to survive betrayal. When I pulled into the driveway, Dutch was sitting on the porch, waiting. He stood when he saw me, and the look on his face, relief and fear and love all mixed together, almost broke me. I got out of the car, walked up to him and said, "Tell me everything. Start from the beginning and don't leave anything out." Dutch and I sat on the porch for hours that night while he told me everything. How the business had started struggling 2 years ago when a major contract fell through. How he'd taken out loans to cover payroll, trying to protect his employees, trying to keep the company his father had built from going under. How the debt had piled up, hundreds of thousands of dollars that he had no way to repay. How he'd been meeting with bankruptcy lawyers, trying to figure out a way forward that didn't destroy everything. How he'd wanted to tell me a dozen times, but couldn't find the words, couldn't face the shame of admitting he'd failed. I listened without interrupting. And when he finished, I said, "Why didn't you think I could handle it? Why didn't you trust me enough to let me help carry this?" His voice broke when he answered, "Because everyone has always depended on me to be strong. My wife, my kids, my employees. I'm the one who fixes things. I'm the one who provides. And admitting that I couldn't fix this, that I'd made mistakes that put everything at risk, it felt like admitting I wasn't worth loving anymore. Like you'd see me as less than as a failure." I reached over and took his hand. "Dutch, I didn't marry you because you're perfect. I married you because you're real, because you make me feel alive, because you chose me when you didn't have to. Financial problems don't change that, but lying does. Keeping secrets does. If we're going to survive this, you have to promise me no more hiding, even when the truth is ugly, especially when the truth is ugly." "I promise," he said, and I heard the sincerity in his voice. From now on, complete honesty about everything. Over the next few weeks, we faced the mess together. Dutch and I met with his lawyers, went over the finances, looked at every possible option. The business couldn't be saved. The debt was too deep, the contracts too few. So Dutch made the hardest decision of his life. He declared bankruptcy, liquidated the company, paid his employees their final checks, and let go of the legacy his father had built. I watched him grieve that loss, watched him struggle with feeling like he'd failed his family. And I did the only thing I could do. I stayed. I held him when he cried. I reminded him that he was more than his business. I helped him see that sometimes letting go is the bravest thing you can do. We sold the house in Charleston. It was too big, too expensive, too full of memories of a different life. With the money from the sale and what we both had saved, we bought a smaller place outside Savannah, halfway between Charleston and Atlanta. A fresh start, a new beginning, a chance to build something together that belonged to both of us, not just one or the other. Marcus struggled with his father's decision, but eventually understood. "You did what you had to do, Dad, and you protected us for as long as you could. That's what matters." Sarah told Dutch he was welcome to work for her father's contracting company if he wanted, but Dutch decided he was done with construction. At 63, he wanted something different, so he started volunteering at a veterans organization, helping older vets navigate benefits and housing. It gave him purpose without the pressure of being the boss, the provider, the one everyone depended on. I went back to work part-time at a boutique in Savannah, reconnected with my love of fashion and helping people find clothes that made them feel beautiful. I also started a blog, yes, me, at 59, about finding love later in life, about second chances, about having the courage to start over. It connected me with other women who'd been widowed or divorced or had just given up on love and were finding it again. I wasn't just Dutch's wife. I wasn't just Keisha's mother or the kids' grandmother. I was Vanessa. Fully, completely, unapologetically Vanessa. And it felt good. It felt right. It felt like I'd finally become the woman I was always meant to be. Keisha visited often, bringing the grandkids, staying for long weekends where we'd cook together and laugh and build new traditions. She and Dutch developed their own relationship. He taught her youngest how to ride a bike, fixed things around her house when he visited Atlanta, became the grandfather figure her kids had been missing. Since Raymond died, my sister Denise eventually came around too. She visited our new place, saw how happy we were, and admitted she'd been wrong. "You look good, Vanessa. Really good. Younger, lighter. Like you found something you didn't even know you were missing." "I did," I told her. "I found myself." One night, about 8 months after the bankruptcy, after everything had settled and we'd found our rhythm, Dutch and I were sitting on our new porch watching the sunset. He turned to me and said, "Do you regret it? Marry me? All the chaos and pain and struggle?" I thought about it, honestly. Thought about everything we'd been through, the whirlwind beginning, the family resistance, the move, the lies, the financial devastation, the fear that we wouldn't survive. And then I thought about the laughter, the late night conversations, the way he looked at me like I was magic, the security of knowing someone chose me every single day. "No," I said finally. "I don't regret it. It's been hard. Harder than I expected, but it's also been worth it. You're worth it. We're worth it." He kissed me then, soft and sweet, and said, "I love you, Vanessa Hartman. Thank you for not giving up on us." "I love you too," I said, "and I'm not going anywhere." We sat there as the sun disappeared and the stars came out. Two people who'd found each other at the end of one life and the beginning of another. Two people who'd taken a crazy chance, a one-night stand that turned into a marriage at 59 and 63 years old. Two people who'd learned that love doesn't come with guarantees, that trust has to be built and rebuilt, that honesty is harder and more important than any romantic gesture. Two people who'd discovered that it's never too late to start over, to choose happiness, to live big instead of small. My phone buzzed. A text from Lorraine. "How's married life, girl?" I smiled and typed back, "Messy, beautiful, exactly what I needed." Dutch looked over my shoulder and laughed. That about sums it up. And as I sat there on that porch in that house we bought together, in this life we were building day by day, I realized something profound. I had spent 59 years being careful, being responsible, being what everyone else needed me to be. And then I'd taken one wild chance one night with a stranger that turned into forever, and everything changed. I didn't know what the future held, didn't know if we'd have 10 years together or 30, didn't know what other challenges would come our way. But I knew this, I was finally completely, wonderfully alive, and that was worth everything.